Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me. My name's Amber. I want to do a quick round of introductions just so we know where everyone is and just so I know how to best make the best use of your time today. So if we could start with you please and give me your name, what type of music you make, and if you have music ready to share with the group today. And you don't have to, that's also...
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so everyone use the mic when you are participating so that we can have it on streaming and recorded.
Perfect.
I'm Abhishek. I'm a music producer, mix engineer, and I run a recording studio back in New Delhi.
Yeah.
I also compose and perform my own music as Goya. And yes, I have almost an album ready to be released, and I have some songs already released. So yeah, my music is mostly, I don't like using words to categorize my music, but still, if I had to, then it's ambient, experimental, electronic.
Okay. Awesome. Fantastic. Nice to meet you.
Same.
So I'm Hugo, and so besides being in the organization of this event, I run also the record label, Emergent Exploratory Record Label that is responsible for this event. It's called Vicnic. Also, I have a few musical projects, some more in the sound art experimental side, some more in the electronic dance side, and some collaborations with other musicians that go in very different directions.
Awesome. Would you have a track to share with us?
Yeah, a few.
Great.
I'll have to stop me.
My name is Ana Laura. I'm not a musician. I do communications at a music venue here in Melbourne.
What type of music do you like? Or who was the last artist you listened to?
Kate Bush.
Oh, classic.
I'm João. I also do communication for cultural space, but I also have a music project on the side that's playing the after party of this event.
Nice.
It's, I guess the best way to describe it is laptop electronic music.
Yeah.
And I can also share a couple of tracks if it's
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Sam. I also work with communication for our record studio, and I love lambada.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Tiago. I run a cultural guide in Portugal, Costa Rica, and 5 regions in Spain. I'm not a music producer, and I like all kinds of genres of music.
Who was the last artist you listened to? Who was the last artist you listened to?
It was Ana Lua Caiano,
Oh,
a Portuguese artist.
Yeah, nice.
Hi, I'm Erik Schrijver. I'm not a musician. I'm like designer and author, but I do think like what I imagine kind of maybe what would apply to music branding would apply to some extent to other kind of creative endeavors. So I'm very curious, and also I love music and parties and throwing little parties myself, and I have a very broad taste, but I do like when my hips can move.
Yeah, nice. It feels good.
Hi, my name is Rita. I'm a musician as well as a label co-owner, a small label that is directing its artistic efforts towards jazz and contemporary music, and most recently a sub-label with electronic music. And yeah.
Very busy.
Yeah.
Do you have any music that you could share with us?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Hi, I'm Rafael. I am a UI UX designer and a musician. I released my first album on November.
Sweet.
I have a project called Self Atomica. I did it all by myself, so I'm the only one, even the mixing, the mastering. Yeah, I have some music to share with you if you wish.
Perfect.
Hello, I'm Greta, based in Porto, but I come from Poland.
and I love the Balkan music. So we have a project in Porto called Balklavalhão that plays Balkan and Balkan-inspired music, because nobody is from the Balkans actually. We are from Poland and South America. And I also have a DJ project presenting all around the Balkan-inspired music, but like world music actually at the moment. And I organize events, I run singing workshops. We have also a lot of concerts, and everybody who is a musician or DJ coming to Porto and being based on this kind of music comes through our hands. And I also organized the second edition of a Bom Balcanica festival in Porto in September this year, which is Balkan Music Festival.
Olá, my name is Sebastião. I'm from Aveiro. I work in a studio. Also like to collaborate with artistic places like Vig and Gretua, and I do music by myself right now at home, trying to put in my ideas and record them.
Awesome. Do you have music that you could share?
Yes, maybe like on WhatsApp.
Yeah. No, we're gonna do an exercise later today where we're gonna listen to everyone's music. So I just wanted to figure out in terms of groups what we'll do. My name's Amber. I've got a couple of slides to introduce myself. So I don't make music. I can't play a note. I can't sing a note. I can't do anything of that, but I can market music, and that's what I've been doing throughout my whole career. I've spent the last 13 years in the music business across brands, labels, artists, working independently with musicians for brands like YouTube Music, MTV, Sonos, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, and a bunch of really fantastic artists across different genres. A lot of electronics, so Sophie Tucker, Mike Snow, Muramasa, I'm trying to think who else, Chet Faker, more electronic, Elohim, more electronic music, as well as pop, rock, indie rock, and stuff like that. In 2020, I stopped working with labels completely, and I started Fanbase Accelerator, Deep Cuts Fanbase Accelerator. It's an online platform that has grown to more than 15,000 music professionals teaching and giving away, basically lifting the veil of major label marketing strategies and giving them to independent artists. When I was working at labels, I observed that labels use all of the same mechanisms that independent artists do to promote music, but they just don't share that information. And now that I'm impartial and I don't work for anyone, I can do that, so I do. And I do that through courses and resources and coaching and work sessions and all that kind of stuff, and things like this. And so thank you for having me today and tomorrow. What we're gonna do in these sessions is we're going to put together a release plan with a focus on branding and storytelling, because there was an article that came out, I think this week or last week, that it's now 120,000 songs that are uploaded to Spotify every day, which is hilarious. And also not totally correct, or like not totally accurate, but still feels very doomsday. So I think the way that you stand out as an artist is by carving out a really unique proposition, and that's what we're going to work on in this session. It's going to be very hands-on because I hate the sound of my own voice, and you will too if you listen to it for 12 hours over today and tomorrow. So we're going to work on your project. So I want you to think about, for the musicians in the room, think about one track that you would like to focus on for these couple of sessions. And for those who are working in communications or working without a track, just think about a project that you would like help with. We're going to do it fast. This is an accelerated version of my accelerator program, which is already sped up. This is a process that usually takes 3 months to do at a label. We're going to do it in today and tomorrow, basically. So think about this as, you don't have to get it perfect, but we will just lay the foundations of music marketing. I'm going to give you some takeaway things to think about, and then I will always be available. We'll connect on social media, and I can look at anything that you want to share with me, or we'll stay connected afterwards. But if that sounds good, and if anyone doesn't have any questions, we'll get into the first session. Any questions so far? And if anyone wants to dip out for coffee at any point, it's right there. Water at any point, right there too. As I said, we'll keep this very casual. So the first session we're going to talk about is branding. I'm just going to do a really high-level branding 101, and then we're going to work on your own brands. So as I kind of alluded to before, standing out in a sea of sameness, standing out in the crowd, super important. And so if we think about what is branding, who by show of hands feels like they need help with branding? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, great. I'll test the rest of you then. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so a brand essentially is, it's really just who you are and who you're not, really. It's like the best brand just carves out a very unique space, and it basically it will provide you the criteria of being able to assess what a good idea and a bad idea is, what a good partnership is, what a good playlist is, what a good opportunity is, and what is not. I once worked on a client where they were signed to a major label, or they were just being signed to a major label. They had built up an incredible streaming numbers, but what they had done was they had adapted every opportunity that they had got through publicity and promotion for whatever the artist was. So they said yes to everything, basically. And they had the problem where they got a lot of attraction because they had really good streams, but they couldn't sell a ticket. No one cared about the music. Couldn't get any publicity. And it was because they were known for everything, therefore they were known for nothing. And so I came in and we rebranded the whole project, and in that we started to create a real solid fan base. So that's really, really powerful if you can nail a brand and stick to it. As I said, the landscape is constantly changing with trends, but you know, your fan base that you build will happen because you are such a magnet, because your brand is so powerful. And fans need consistency. Think about how many of your favourite artists will change their name or change their sound, and everyone's like, ah! Or even just like a product feature updates in Instagram. People are like, I'm never using this thing again. That consistency and repetition of message is really, really powerful to growing and cultivating a fan base. To demystify the whole idea of a brand, really all it is it sits between this nice little diagram of, it's the product. So the product for you guys is either the music, if you're a musician in the room, or it's the shows that you put on if you're throwing parties. It is the community that you build through events like this. It's a conference, that's the product. Then you have the narrative of that. So the narrative is, how do you talk about it? What is, you know, if someone was to share it with their friends through WhatsApp, you've got to go check this song out. What do they say? And then the image. Does the image extend the listening experience? So if I listen to your track and then with nothing, just like blank, eyes closed, what do I see? And does that image match? And sometimes that image cannot match and be a stark contrast, and that in itself is really interesting. I think about like Cold War Kids, who I worked on, where if you listen eyes closed to one of their tracks, you think it's like an old soul female singer, and then you open your eyes and it's a white man singing. You're like, what? That's weird. But that image works really well. So I'm going to do a quick lightning round. Would love a bit of just yelling out words at me. I'm going to present to you a few artists that always get a lot of credit for having really strong brands, and I want you to just tell me, what are the words when you see these artists, what are the words that come to mind? So Beyonce, what do you think? Booty. Yep.
Power.
Power, yep.
Money.
Money. What else? Does anyone feel nothing?
Kind of luxurious lifestyle, no?
Lifestyle?
Fur coat and gold everywhere.
Yeah. What does she remind you of? What are some of the words that come to mind?
Diva.
Diva. That's good.
Gold.
Gold. Yeah.
Sexy.
Sexy.
Not sure. Like classic.
Classic. Awesome.
Very serious.
Yep. Yep. Okay. What about Lana Del Rey? Vintage. Retro. Sentimental. That's great. America. 100%. Yeah. Okay. What about Lizzo? Power, yep.
I can only think of the flute.
Yeah, yeah.
Unapologetic.
Yeah, unapologetic. Body positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about the words that came up for Lizzo and Beyonce. We both had powerful but very separate ideas. So I want to then start to think about that and apply that to you. Whenever I work with artists that come in to my course, the ones that always need the help with branding is I'll ask them, I'll say, okay, describe to me, what are you about? You know, what's your brand? And they'll say, I make music and I'm really good at it. And I'm like, sick. Everyone else too. And so what we have to decide is in that, like as soon as they start with me, that's what we figure out. We've got to go, all right, how do you stand out against every single other person that creates music and is really good at it? And I've worked on more than 100 artist campaigns at labels, and now have worked on more than 800 campaigns with my students. And I think there are 3 ways that you can stand out as an artist, which is really great because it makes it a lot easier. And you can have a combination of these things. So as I present them, have a think about what makes sense for you. Before we get into this, the reason why you want to choose and be intentional with how you stand out is because there needs to be a separation between you, the human being, and you, the artist. And I don't know if this resonates with anybody, but it's very different marketing a person with real thoughts and real emotions with a product that's so personal, like songs and art, and with no criteria of what is good because it's art and it's original. As opposed to when I'm working on Sonos or MTV or YouTube, where it's like it's a device or an app, and it has a brand book that 300 people around the world touch and work on that brand, and the app has got no feelings. But the app, when it gets criticism or praise, doesn't fall apart. And there's a real difference. When I moved from advertising to the music industry, that was one of the biggest differences that I saw in, if you look at product as music, product as apps and technology and real fit, like, you know, pens, is the feelings. And artists burn out and quit music when they're meant, you know, when the inner critic gets really loud. So I always say is like, figure out how much you want to separate you, the human being, from you, the person, the artist, the product, the narrative, the brand, and these 3 ways you can do it. So option 1 is you can tap into a wider cultural discourse as a brand. So what that means is by choosing things that are happening in culture and around the world, and then figuring out how can you piggyback on that because it makes sense. So if you're making world music, what's going on in the world that group of people really care about, and how can you tap into that, and how is there things that make sense for you within what's happening in the wider cultural discourse. If that sounds too vague, here's a few examples of artists who I've worked with who've done that. So Elohim, she's an electronic artist. Electronic music is super competitive because the popularity of it makes it super competitive, and the fact that some artists only need a laptop, like you don't need a whole bunch of gear. The barrier to entry is much lower. So you really need to figure out, how do you stand out? Elohim, she's an electronic artist. She stood out by tapping into the wider cultural discourse of mental health. So she herself suffered from really extreme panic attack disorders, so much so that sometimes her pre-show ritual was just vomiting until she couldn't anymore, and then she would get up on stage, like really bad. And then she ended up deciding she wanted to use that she uses her music to cope anyway, but used that more in her outward-facing brand. What she did was everything that she did started to come in the theme of mental health. So she did a tour, and she called it group therapy. She did social media content where she would go live with a therapist and do Q&As with her fans. So if they didn't have access to a therapist, they could join her once a week and get that access. We worked on a series of visualizers on YouTube, and instead of them just being visualizers, I paired her up with a breathwork coach, and they created a series of 11 breathwork exercises that you would do as you listen to the EP. And so instead of it just being a visualizer, it served a utility. So everything she does taps into that wider cultural discourse, and as a result, anyone else who's struggling with her kind of level of mental health is drawn to her. Another example, Lizzo, body positivity. So she'd used her body in a way of being kind of unapologetic, powerful body positivity, but by putting that out there, she was able to tap into the wider cultural discourse of body positivity, and for people who didn't feel seen, she became a role model for them. RAC is another electronic artist, really big into blockchain technology, particularly in music. He was right on the first of this. He created a label that was, I think, the first label on the blockchain, launched a bunch of NFTs. He's a real pioneer in that space. And as a result, everyone that's looking at Web3 looks at him as a role model. So that becomes kind of an entry point into his music. So think about that for you. Is that a way that you could stand out, is by thinking about what makes sense to you and your audience and kind of tapping into that wider cultural conversation? Second option is be you, but just be you times 100 or be you times 1,000. I gave this advice to one of my artists who was really struggling with content creation, and she just decided, she was like, all right, I'm going to start from scratch and I'm just going to be me, but I'm turning it up to infinity. And she went super gothic, really dark, really weird. And she got to 1 million TikTok followers in 6 months and emailed me, and she's like, all I did was be myself times 100. And I was like, damn, that's it. So being you times 100 means, or 1,000 or infinity, is really leveraging this like self-congruity effect in music, like this psychology word, self-congruity effect in music. Basically what it is it's the psychological phenomenon where an artist's public persona becomes this magnetic, becomes a magnet for fans who see themselves in the artist. So if you take your public persona and you say you turn up the body positivity, all of a sudden that becomes a magnet for people who can see themselves, or powerful. Like if people who are like sitting there and going, I want to feel powerful, like you become this magnetic trait. So for this, it's really about thinking about what starts out in you and how can you turn those things up. Magnetic traits are constructed through everything that you do. So your stage persona, how you show up in interviews, how you talk at label meetings or management meetings, what you're like on stage, what type of content you make. It's that facade, and it's basically putting those little magnets in front of your audience. If you think about it, we listed some of them, but it's artists like Megan Thee Stallion's confidence. Her confidence and sexiness is what draws people to her. For Youngblood, he featured there. It's the fact that he's an outcast. He's got this real, like, people don't understand me, I'm doing whatever I want attitude, and as a result, a lot of other, like, young kids who also feel that they're not heard and misunderstood are drawn to him. It's also Slow Tie. Slow Tie's rebellion. He's getting, you know, if you go to a Slow Tie show, it's like, it's almost like a war. Like it's his rebellion and just like bravado is what also draws that kind of person to him as well. So if you're nodding along, I see a couple of like really subtle nods on BU times 100. Think about what of yourself can you make more extreme, and if you need more help with that, think about what do people, if you've got fans already, what do they love about you? If you have friends, family, a community, mentors, what do they love about you? But then equally, what about you grates on people? Because the most interesting protagonists are flawed. And so you can't just be adored. That's kind of boring. Like you need the love and you need the hate. And with this approach, it takes a bit of thick skin, but it's also, you can construct it a bit as well, where it's like people don't need to know the real you, they just need to know the infinity heightened exaggerated version of you. But yeah, what do people love about you? What do people hate about you? How can you turn it up? Okay, and then option number 3 is if you want full separation from you as the human being and you as the artist, you create a character. Create a character as someone that's completely made up, completely fictional. So it's artists like, we always think about characters like Daft Punk or Deadmau5 or like masked characters, but there are other examples which I think are more interesting, like Oliver Tree, who he had in his first album cycle, he played just the role of the internet troll, and he would do things like he'd be saying that he'd be in press saying like, I've been trying to make my music a flop from the beginning, but he just kept like getting millions and millions of streams and kind of trolling his audience, being like, I just want to fail. Or he'd pick fights with his label and he'd be like, the label wanted me to make a music video, I made one for $5, or I'm trying to get dropped by my label, and everyone's like, he's signed to Atlantic, so people love that story. And he said, why do you think this quote's really good? It's hard to ascertain the genuineness of his disdain for the music business. He says, I've been trying to make my music a flop from the beginning. Why do you think I look this good? Why do you think I look good this way? If I tried to look good, I would have been a hell of a lot more successful. If I wasn't so annoying, I'd be a superstar, but instead I'm on the Z list. I'm writing down with the real low bottom of the barrel because I'm on my way out, which is just not true, but yeah, it's just kind of trolling. And it was hilarious. But then he said that after his debut record, he was going to quit music, and that his debut was going to be his retirement, and all this stuff. And that was a whole character. Then he emerges as a country star, and it's an entirely different artist, which is this one here. And so, yeah, this kind of invention of a character and rebranding and total separation, like who the hell is Oliver Tree? Another artist, Emotional Oranges, they're an LA-based duo. They both were like vocal coaches and producers, so they wanted to remain anonymous. So they just came up with the name Emotional Oranges, stuck to orange, and just that was their colour palette, and all of their content was these oranges. And then you would make memes about the fact that they were, super famous but wanted to be in hiding and all this stuff, and people loved it. So for you, I want you to just think about for a couple of moments, what out of 1, 2, or 3 will you be? So it's either tapping into a wider cultural discourse, it's being you times 100 or 1,000 or infinity, or it's creating a character. So just write down, I'll give you kind of, as long as I just drink water, and then we'll move on. But yeah, we'll just think about what of those appeal to you, just in your gut, like what sounds the easiest or most enjoyable to do, and it can be a combination. And I want you to hold on to that thought. Everything that we do answers up to the brand. So I said before the story of the artist who I worked on who kind of had adapted all these opportunities and kind of stood for nothing. When you think about what a brand does, it's everything. It's the artist image, it's the content strategy, it's your social posts, it's the release strategy, which platforms you even decide to release music on, it's fan initiatives, what type of contests you make, what kind of merch you make, your relationship with your fans, what platforms you engage on, the publications and the playlists that you pitch to. When you can be so specific and so focused on what that brand is, all these decisions that usually take a lot of time become a lot easier, because anyone that's working on you or your project can get the brand and they know immediately what's in, what's out. And every piece of marketing that you're doing is reinforcing this persona. So you're creating leverage. So what I'm going to do now, and I always say with branding, and with musicians, it's like no two artists are the same, so no two brands should be either, no two marketing plans should be either. So what we're going to do now is we're going to break up into groups, and I think we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think we'll do 3 groups of 3 and 1 4. And what I want you to do is I want you to share your genre and location, which we kind of did, and then just talk about 3 things about you and your music. Then what I want you to do is share out of those 3 what sounded the most interesting to you. So building a character, persona, or talking about a wider cultural discourse. And then share your Instagram if you've got it, or TikTok, or a music video, or any kind of image that you have with the group. And what I want you to do is each share that, and then everyone choose the images, 1 to 3 images that stand out to you in that artist's feed. And what we're going to try to do is trying to get an objective view of what other people think of you. So if you in that exercise said, okay, I really think about, I want to be me times 100. And the things about my music is it's empowering, it's very raw and vulnerable. I talk about motherhood, for example, and the tracks that I've got are best known for, you know, yeah, that kind of, that rawness. Then the group will look at your Instagram feed, and then they're going to choose 3 pictures that they are most drawn to that reflect what that is. And it'll give you, this can be a really great exercise because it can show you what your intention is, the gap between your intention and what's actually put out there, and when it's reflected back at you, it can be really, really great feedback. So if that sounds good, does anybody have any questions before we do the first group work? Nope. Okay, great. So, song. Sorry, it's my Australianness in there. I haven't learnt Portuguese yet. It's on my list of things to do. Okay, so we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the time is. Okay, the time's 11:30. We're going to do this until 12 o'clock. Yeah, so 3 things about you and your music. Share your Instagram and play a little bit of your tracks if you can. And then do the Instagram exercise for half an hour. And I'll roam around if anyone's got any questions as well.
Great.
You want to start that? Sorry, maybe you can show some stuff. Because I think we also need to exercise in terms of follow a bit the education and 3 things about you and your negative term. When you go like because to share music,
Sim, para apoiar o festival, já foi feito já. Exato.
Já vivi no Porto, mas
a experiência de comunicar com câmeras.
Em qualquer lugar do país.
É quase uma coisa que eu estive a pensar, porque o projeto maior que tenho neste momento é uma banda, então eu não sou só
Exato, é a banda.
É isso, pode ser interessante.
Claro.
São composições próprias. World music tem isso porque é espelhada do banco tradicional, mas com letras escritas por mim, várias vezes, composições feitas por mim, escritas por mim, composição do Chile, então é mais antiga, do Brasil.
E tu?
Não tenho nada nas redes, nem tenho Instagram, por isso vai ser mais difícil vocês darem
Ok, mas vocês vão ver que o meu Instagram é um desastre.
Yeah, no problems. Okay, yeah.
Não, mas isso é outro exercício, não é? É este espelho também importante.
Eu tenho página de texto. A minha página pessoal que eu uso para
Eu ainda estou a perceber se quero ter.
Yeah.
Eu ainda estou a perceber o tipo de música.
Yeah.
E até se. Pronto, estou
Mas isso é fixe.
porque às vezes, agora mesmo, o que eu quero é aprender, ter experiências com bandas, tocar ao vivo.
Yeah.
E já tive bandas, normalmente música mais virada para o rock, instrumental, experimental.
Tu tocas que
Estou
instrumento?
guitarra, tive música clássica.
Sim, mas a sua mais velha, claramente. Mas sim, partilhamos a mesma faculdade. Fiz, falta a cena.
E não sei, o resto. Agora estou aqui a trabalho num estúdio, estou a querer aprender mais sobre produção e a parte técnica para poder compor sozinho na casa.
Isso é incrível, isso é.
Mas.
Like on that Melbourne Underground song where the Chewbacca voice comes in, like, or like the sound, what's that is? Or what's it say? It's like,
seeing when they're on.
Okay, sweet. All right, fantastic. So, before we get into the second part, I just want everybody to go around the room and share what was your kind of biggest takeaway, biggest aha moment, biggest lesson from, or best piece of advice that your group were able to give you. And then if you have any questions that came up after doing the exercise, what were they? And we'll just have a discussion about those. If anybody wants to start, a volunteer to start. I'm going to point it to, because you said you had questions, so.
Right.
Yeah.
The group made us, I think it was a very interesting interaction. So I'm following you, by the way, as an artist on Spotify. Yeah.
They all count.
Exactly. So the biggest aha moment. Well, I figured out that, I'm a chaos. I did know that, though. I did. But I'm a digital chaos. And it's pretty obvious to me now.
And what made it obvious?
Well, the Instagram account on one hand, because I have different projects, but I don't post in, I don't make them like separately.
Yep.
I kind of made a Facebook account for 2 of them, but I don't feed them. I always feed my personal Facebook account instead of feeding the others.
Yep.
And the same goes with Instagram. I do the exactly same thing. So it becomes just a mix match of things that I do. And on top of that, I also post sometimes personal things so that I can get people interested.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I've just noticed that I need to put a hold on that and start organizing my social.
Yeah, that's great.
That was an aha moment for me.
Yeah, perfect. I also like the idea of digital chaos being a brand. I think that is just, I feel you on that. If you looked at my screen, the amount of tabs I have open are like chaotic.
All right.
I have the same challenge. I don't have an Instagram account or Facebook for my musical project. Although I've created them just to save the name in the space, so that in the future I can use them.
Great.
But it's managing social media and creating content. It's it takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the strategy well defined to know exactly what type of content I should post. What's the frequency, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And since I'm not doing this full time, I have another full time job. I'm more focused on creating music rather than distributing or marketing it. So it's quite a challenge. Yeah. So I decided to, as she said, to use my own account, my personal account, to share musical related stuff. The only thing I use is a specific hashtag with my band's name.
Perfect.
So I can have a URL specified with the hashtag just for that specific content. That's the only thing I did regarding to organizing stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
So we come to our group question. Because we had this conversation, and maybe you will come to your point, because we were wondering, I don't like having social media. So as Rita was saying, I have everything on my private profile, and I said, I don't have my private Instagram. I don't exist on Instagram, me Greta. But what exists is Balskandal, which is my project with the DJ and voice workshops and whatever things. So people who follow it, they get posters, events, what happened where, blah, blah, blah. Then I also have the band Instagram and the festival Instagram. So 3 accounts, which is a lot of work, which I try to manage like a normal full-time job. No, you go, 1 hour, tick, tick, tick. And then we came to our friend, who is still in doubt if to have social media. That was the question of the group, what would be another way of getting to your public without having social media, but still spreading your work?
I did a workshop yesterday, and I said this on the thing. I said, I get asked once a week, how do I build a successful music business without social media? And I hadn't been asked it this week, and you just asked it.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna hate me for this, but there is no answer. You have to. Yeah, it's unfortunately, it's a tax. It's a thing. I hate social media myself. Every single artist that I work with hates it as well because, and with the reasons you identified, it takes a long time to make compelling content is expensive. The algorithm changes and you lose access to your audience, which is why Web3 is so, the prospect or the idea of Web3 is so nice because you might have more of that direct access. What I say to artists is that unfortunately, like your audience exists on social media and your music is discovered on social media, and your job as a musician is to find that audience and bring them into your world. And the opportunity for audience acquisition on social media is just too great to pass it up if you have the goal of building influence and building an audience, which you do, which is why you'd be here. So once you go, all right, I have to do this stupid thing, how am I going to do it? What I suggest is consolidating accounts. So what you were talking about is bringing them all into one account. I think the more I can see...
Consolidated?
Yeah, so...
You said bring them all into one account.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the reason why I would do that is instead of... The way that the business models work is they reward content creators that are publishing very, very frequently because it keeps people on the platform, which means they can sell more ads, they can sell more memberships, the subscriptions. So if you have 3 separate accounts, you have to upload all that at 3x your amount. I think we're also in an age, or what I've observed is that we're in an age where the personal brand is more powerful than a brand. And so if you keep investing in your own name, you can have multiple projects that spin off. But the minute you have different artist projects and you're like, this is my composing Monica, this is my artist project, this is my coaching business, this is my, what I do for film, TV, then it all kind of spreads out. But if you can bring them all under the one category, your audience will follow you around. So that's one, is have it under one roof. And I think that they can feed each other. With yours, the live business feeds the record label, which feeds the artist project. It can, yeah.
But doesn't that go against what you said about the constants of keeping the message, keeping the same brand?
That's a good point, yeah. It depends if they're going to be completely separate products, for example, so if it's like your architecture firm or like say if you have your own personal Instagram and you want to share family photos and you want it to just be friends, then and that's totally different to the character that you make, then do keep them separate. And if you want separation from the audience, but if you can figure out how to integrate them, then I think that lessens the workload a lot. And the consistency in the branding is your aesthetic. So in the same way I was going through the groups and some people had projects where the genres are different or the sound of the project is different. And I think we're in an environment now where that's fine. Like there used to be a time where it was like you just make indie rock and you just make 10 tracks on an album and they sound the same. and it's because it needed to fit in the indie rock shelf at the record store. And now we're in a singles environment and you have people listening to music through playlists, and you can listen to in the same playlist a Taylor Swift song, a Drake song, a whoever else, a Kate Bush song, and that can make sense to somebody. So I think you can unite that by creating the same aesthetic. Your question about social media, the other ways you can help yourself is by outsourcing some of the work. So virtual assistants can be really helpful. Also creating style guides for videos and reels and content, and using places like Canva who have templates available, or working with a designer to build you a library of assets that you just use over and over again. And then also using scheduling tools like Planoly or what are the other ones? Like Hootsuite, Planoly, Buffer, to actually do the scheduling. And then the other thing I suggest, actually, I'll just bring it up because I literally did this presentation yesterday where we were like, I hate social media. Where would it be? Batching content. So, this is what I teach artists in my course, which is get off the schedule of creating something and uploading it to Spotify or to social media, but instead batch your content. And what that means is you choose one day of the month where you make all of your social media.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so you'll doomsday. Bom, bom, bom. Let me tell you about this horrible thing, but it will save you time and it's going to save you a lot of energy. So instead of thinking like it's an ongoing project and it always has to go in the background, what you do is you schedule a shoot once a month and you pretend it's a music video shoot and you prepare like it was a music video shoot. You write you come up with all of your video ideas, you write them out, script them if you need to. Oh, wow. Then you choose a location, you get hair and makeup, glammed up, and you get a wardrobe and your artist wardrobe, if it's your character, you dress up as your character. And then you shoot as a half day or a full day with somebody else that can shoot you so you don't have to work the camera and stuff. And then after that, next day, write out all your captions. And then what you do is you just match the videos to the captions and you put it in a social media scheduling planner and away you go. This is one of my clients, Aston, and she's the one who grew to 1 million TikTok followers in 9 months. Wow. What you can see here is she's at the same location. She's got the same hair and makeup, green eyes, hair is like that, different tops. She's probably wearing the same leggings on the bottom, like the newsreader that's just wearing board shorts. But she just switches it up and she's created all of these ideas in her head first, rehearsed them. So when she gets to that shoot, she's just bang, 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 creates all of her content in one day. And then doesn't need to think about it. Then you can go back into the studio, work on your event, work on your artist project. And then you do it again. So another friend of mine did that for, another client of mine did that where he got a photographer who was one of his fans and they just went out once a month, and for the fan it was an opportunity to build his portfolio because he didn't have a lot of creative work, and for my client it was a way to get a whole library of photos that he'd just bang on social media. I do that with my own social media, so I can show you my Instagram, not to derail this conversation, but I shot over a year's worth of content in 3 days. And I haven't shot or made any piece of social media content in over a year. I had a baby last year, so I was like, I'm not touching social media for a year. And, but I did the ssome thing where I can show you if this loads. Here we go. I make all these videos that are basically, as you can see, all these, they're just basically advice reels for musicians, but they're all the same, me in the same outfit, same, all I've done is changed my outfit and I changed I don't know, let's choose one of these. Yeah, and I just basically wrote them all. So for example, this one. So all I've done here is I just change what's in the foreground. I'm actually trying to hide a pregnant belly, which is why there's so much stuff in the front. And then I've just got a friend to come over and do my hair and makeup, and then I just had a wardrobe, and I shot 80 videos for this, and then I shot the next day 80 videos, the next day 80 videos, and then goes to a video editor, and I didn't have to touch social media ever again. Wow. And so, yeah, thinking about it, I think the problem with social media is when you are on this treadmill and you're like, I hate this thing. And it takes you out of flow. And particularly if you're writing records or you're you know, coming up, rehearsing for a live show or coming up with creative concepts for music videos or artwork and stuff, it can take you out of that. So the more you can just kind of put it into a box and go, this is a dumb tax I got to pay to find my audience, and this is make a process around it that takes you out of the everyday grind is helpful. And so then Aston did that, and I don't know where her slides are.
Can I have a question?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Because nowadays, more and more people are talking also about the artificial intelligence helping you creating the content. So basically, you can just tell to the chat GPT or whatever, oh, I want the social media content for 1 year.
Yeah.
And it will create it, and you can use it. My question is, like, you as a person who gives advice to artists, would you advise to do it? Because I think it's super impersonal, and in the end, do you think it can work, or it just, you know, can be detected by the public, like, it's too artificial?
I love it. I love it. I think it, as a writing assist tool, it's just incredible. Like, what I would do is take 10 or 12 of your best social media posts of the last year, put it into ChatGPT and say, rewrite this 10 ways, and then you will have 120 videos, and then you, as the artist, go through and make it personal. So think about what are the type of personal stories that you want to include, what about your brand that you just discovered in that session can you bring through, and also the fact that it averages everything out, and it is really impersonal. So if you just think of it like you have a junior copywriter writing for you, and that they're fresh out of school and they don't know anything about your industry or project, but they're just writing for you, and you're the editor, and it's your job to go, what's interesting, what's not, what's useful, what's not, how do I make it more personal? But yeah, I see 2 thumbs up to ChatGPT. What was your biggest takeaway?
From the group. So me not having Instagram or social media, they were saying like, so now you can choose because you don't have a backstory, so now you can kind of choose the way you do it and kind of control it more. So yes, that got me thinking, and also but the thing is, I don't want to create momentum and then stop the momentum and then create momentum again. Because I go through phases. Sometimes I'm depressed, sometimes I'm happy, and when I'm more depressed, I will not want to make content. The momentum will stop. So that's kind of a question I have. Like, how do
That's where the batching content is really helpful. Because doing the shoot, the once a month shoot, because you can do it when you're energetic and when you're clear-headed, and then once it's there and in your library and you've scheduled it, then the train is moving. So you can't get in the middle and meddle with the train. It's like the momentum is going. But if you're relying on the momentum, if you're relying on your mood, particularly if you know that you go through waves, that could be self-sabotage. And so just trying to plan for that and get ahead of it would be a good exercise. Yeah. We'll start at the end. What about you, the biggest takeaway?
So I guess the biggest takeaway for me is my music project, which is a music duo, so it's me and a friend. Has kind of 2 sonic moods that we work in, and they're very opposite. So it's either very calm and ambient, or very, very chaotic and confusing. And I guess, it's not a. So it's really 2 separate moods. There's nothing that connects them, but they work well in the project, and I guess that could be something that we could try to get a narrative around somehow for communicating the project. And then also relating to this social media thing, which we don't have an Instagram account for the project, but it's very important for us, or it has been so far, to kind of build a narrative around the work that we publish, because not even thinking about how people will perceive it, but we haven't felt comfortable in putting out music that's just a collection of songs. We kind of feel the need to build something around it in our heads, and then because we don't have an Instagram account or a website or any page that's specific to the project, it might be like that narrative might be there for us, but it might be hard for people to grasp somehow.
Yeah.
Guess that's the takeaways.
It's great to be aware of that being the hurdle. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. It was great to exchange, and all this makes me think of so many different things. This planet posting, like I think it would also be good for me, because I find now, for example, if there is like an event or a book launch or a thing like this, then I have also the energy to post a lot, but then afterwards it always dries out. Yeah. And so I know I don't have the same social media reach as people that are more like
doing this all the time.
Comfortable with it. But I do think it's like, I do feel like social media content works very well if people find something that is kind of spontaneous about it. So you have to keep that. It's only the way, I don't know, like for example, like the way you write, like I find people, they respond to if they feel it's like personal and kind of improvised. So it's a really tension how like to get that. Also because I don't like improvising these kind of things at all, because it feels as if you're making something audiovisual, it feels close to work. Yeah. Like, you know, that's why, like, for example, another example, I don't like dating apps because you're sending messages, and I find that I cannot do that just off the cuff, like, because I work with words, and then it's not I don't like, I feel the Instagram things at the same time, like, I have to be spontaneous and fun. So then I like this batching thing, but then you have to find a way to make sure that this content keeps feeling kind of spontaneous and fun. So I guess that's a real challenge. And then we looked at the feed, and then, so this extroverted version of yourself, that's my vibe. I dig that, and it just made me think of like how to find the right balance of, because I've been getting some really nice content. Like I showed them a picture where I'd be signing books by kissing them and things like this, but then to keep a good balance where people feel like, but in the end they come also because you have something to say, like with their music or what you're writing. So to find a good balance in the content where you have this kind of whimsical thing, like, oh, I would want to like hang out with this person, or they seem like they seem cool, but you're also still there in the end, because whatever it is you're writing or performing is, so how to keep so that seems like an interesting challenge for me, to keep the balance there in the kind of content you share. I don't know.
Yeah, awesome. On the planning to be spontaneous, one way you can think about it is map out what do you have coming up in a month. And so if you're doing a book signing, you can come up with content ideas around that book signing where you're like, okay, I know like a photo of a kiss on a book, that's gonna be something that people really love, or like just like a GIF of you doing that, and that can be made in advance. Yeah,
so I've been doing that now. I've been making in advance a small video for I'm going to do a thing next week, but I already made a little video and saying like, I'm on my way to Paris now, but I'm really not on my way to Paris. I thought it was fun, but then they changed the date of the launch, so now I have to go in and somehow edit the video.
Kidding,
so I don't know.
Awesome. No. Okay, and for you guys?
So, biggest takeaway? It's still in progress. I feel.
Or something that you learned from the group?
I was thinking about I was still thinking about the suggestion that you said, that condense your work over the period of a few days rather than thinking about it constantly. I've been able to do that with my, so I run a studio, and I'm able to do that with my studio, but doing that with my artist account seems like a mental block right now. Because
what's the block about, do you think? What stops you? What are the thoughts that come into your brain?
I think it's one is it's just tiring.
It's what?
It's tiring.
Yeah.
To like, okay, now you have to like think about what you're gonna maybe if I did it in past tense, it would still be okay. Like saying that, okay, so I'll take this as an example of coming to Aveiro for this residency. If I wanted to showcase this on social media that I did this, these were my experiences, this is what I learned. Maybe doing it in past tense makes more sense that, okay, I'm going to plan now and post about this next month.
Yeah.
Rather than, or maybe just like keep shooting and like documenting, but sit one day in 20 days and then to process and like bring it all together and do it. Because like even right now, I was like, you know, I'm having these great experiences here, but I'm not posting about any of it. And then it feels like, okay, something's missing. Like I'm not, you know, so I think that's but I've been able to do it with my studio account because it's still detached. And I have someone else to do most of it for.
Yeah.
But for my own artist account, it just seems I'm not being able to execute it very well right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about the mental. I like the idea of doing it after past tense. That's great. But think about when you think about tiring, think about why. Like, is it because
now I need to tell people this is who I am.
Yeah.
It's like that is tiring. Like I need to tell that this was my experience. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just you know, this is it. I don't need to tell people, like, but I do. Yeah, but I do agree with I think what Anna also said when we were, that it's not with my music we wrote these keywords which they could feel when they were listening to my music, but then when they saw my Instagram they were like, okay, we're not getting that image out of your Instagram. And that's something that still makes sense, because it could be like, it doesn't even have to be me on the video, it could just be like 5 really nice pictures that really speak my music.
Yep.
And that would do the job, and I haven't been doing that, so maybe that's something I need to work on.
It's a great takeaway.
Yeah.
The stock libraries are always really helpful for that. So I use Storyblocks, Canva, for music, Soundstripe, some other, I'm trying to think of what other ones are. Flickr.
Can you
send them?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Let's bring them up. So Canva is one. Storyblocks is really good. Pexel is also helpful. And then Soundstripe for music. Yeah, so, and then also sometimes randomly Flickr as well. With Flickr, you can search by the like license, so you can get Creative Commons licenses, but for the rest of them, they're all stock video and stock footage. And so you don't have to shoot anything. So that's a great idea. If you take your brand pillars, what you identified, and then just like put it into here, and then, yeah, you can see, like, these guys look cool. I'd use that for something.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, we could definitely, let's have a look. 90s Club Rave, because I know that was a brand pillar of yours and speaks to my heart. But like, what do we got here? This is kind of cool. This is cool.
But what would you connect that with? Like, I just see like there would be some kind of lifestyle commercial, but I don't see how that would connect to whatever. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I kind of see how that would connect to like a lifestyle commercial, but I don't see how it's so, like, how would it connect to like a piece of music or a piece of...
So music videos, visualizers. One of my clients, I can show you after this, Alak, my student, she shot a music video for very, very cheap, just using stock library. So she had performance footage of herself and then used B-roll library. Any kind of, visualizers, social media graphics, you voicing over a story, over these graphics. If you're trying to, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it can save you a bunch of time. I'll send the music video out as well. Okay. Yeah, this is her music video. All this is kind of B-roll from stock footage. I think she made this for $233, this video. And then that's her performing. Yeah, I'll send this one out as well.
So what was the process, sorry?
The process for her, so yes. she shot, I can do, I don't really have the sound, do I? That's all right. So she shot herself filming, this is her performing, and then she just filmed it with her iPhone and a ring light in her place, and then she just used a stock footage library to intersperse all of those stock footage in there. So instead of it just being her singing on the ground, you've got all these other assets to it, and just kind of makes it a lot more dynamic. But it's a good option if you're thinking like, okay, shooting all this stuff is really tiring. It takes too much time. I don't have choreography, for example.
That's awesome.
Yeah, or music videos are thousands of dollars and I can't afford them. It's a good option for scrappy music videos.
I have another question.
Sure.
Again, this might be like, so I know a few artists, big artists who never use social media.
Like who?
Nils Fram.
I don't know him.
No.
Yeah.
That's German artist who like neoclassical music, a lot of electronic music. And he's been around since been around since the time social media wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But he never came on
social
as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I can find more artists who are then how because I think creating videos and music is never the problem. It's probably the part where you have to post it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I would question it, like I would love the idea that you can build an audience without social media. I love that as an idea, as a concept. I think in Web 2 and the way music is distributed and enjoyed at this moment in technology and time, social media is the gatekeeper to that. So I would wonder, is there any artists who have shot to fame
starting
now? Yeah, that didn't have an audience that they could bring or sell things to or monetize before social? That's the question. I would love to see it, honestly. I'm on your side, because every single person in this room is in music or an artist and doesn't want to do it. And that just expands to every group I talk to, every client I work with, every label I talk to. It's like, it's so weird and very sci-fi to think that we all have to do this thing. But we have to do it, so yeah. Maybe we can put together a collective of anti-social media. Yep. Yeah, question?
I have no idea of what my digital footprint is. So I think that's like a huge, still big issue for me. Digital rights as well, but I was thinking about image and like all the videos that I have around. I have no hand on them.
Yeah.
Most of them are just people that shot them, or venues where I was, and I can't use them because they have rights, and I couldn't use them, to my own for myself. So that leaves me out of control over a great part of my visual digital footprint, and I wish I could get a hold of that. And what I feel is like, if I create this strategy where I'm, in charge of whatever content, visual content I'm posting, does it feel like a clean slate, like starting all over? It's like, okay, you know what? This is what I decided that I want to convey, whereas the rest of the images and videos weren't really, something that I have decided. How would the public, the audience, perceive this new me, per se?
Yeah. You can delete everything and start fresh. You can, that's no problems. I've worked on campaigns before with records where you just delete everything and you're just like, this is me, I'm debuting myself. And then also worked with clients who have been through huge transitions in identity and visuals, and that in itself is such an interesting story that brings fans along. One of my clients, Cub Sport, they're an Australian queer four-piece band from Australia, but they started where they were an indie rock band, and they weren't out, and through the band's history, they've been together for now, I think 10 years, but through the band's history, they, the frontman and the lead guitarist ended up coming out, got married, and then the bass guitarist, she also came out, got married, and then the transformation of them in terms of their visuals, they go from like cute indie rock, like what you imagine 2010s indie rock to be, and now they're on stage in like full leather bondage, like really like super styled, and the evolution of that is so interesting, and they call themselves the Kardashians of pop music, because if you go back to the start of the Kardashians, when Kim's not like all styled and she's Paris Hilton's assistant and she's wearing daggy clothes, and now you look at her and she's like super fierce, and the storytelling of that is really interesting. So for you, I would say set the strategy of how you bring fans and people along that journey. If it's like, I'm over this clean slate, you can just delete everything and you can just be like, I'm starting fresh. That's no problems. Otherwise you can kind of, bring it along. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Then you don't lose your audience. I mean, you're just bringing...
No.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting, because that's one of the... Well, I'm afraid of losing my...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not afraid of losing my friends, but what I'm afraid of losing is people that actually are not personally connected to me, but to my work.
Yeah.
I might get off track by deleting everything, because once in a while I find people that I've never met, but they know me because of that, because of those sparse videos that are just hanging around in the digital webness.
Yeah.
And so that was one of my concerns. But as you mentioned, I can bring them along this transformation.
Yeah.
That sounds like a more consistent...
And talk about it as well. Talk about it. To be like, I want to be doing this thing now. I'm launching this thing. I do before and after transformations. People love seeing that. And as a supporter of you, they want to see you grow and they want to see you win. And so just tell them about it.
Great.
I reckon.
Thank you so much.
Let's go for your biggest takeaway.
Well, we were talking about this band we're launching in next year called Jenny and Her Epileptic Dog. That I share. Jenny and Her Epileptic Dog. That it's a band I share with a friend that actually is in the US. He's from California. We recorded the album during lockdown. We did our first concert before lockdown, then we didn't do anymore because, well. And I think mostly from this conversation, it was nice to share it and to see like how the other people also like kind of looked at it. And I think more than anything, I think it confirmed the way that we look at ourselves, or the way that we define ourselves, was very close, I believe, to the insights we got from the group. So yeah.
Good. Tick of approval then.
Yeah, we don't have Instagram also because it's also a new band. Whatever we are doing now, we will do probably through the labels, Instagram and so. And then I think if we think there's demand enough to get to know the people behind it, or the artists behind it, probably we'll do something about it. But for now, we'll just use the labels, social media.
Great. And lucky last.
So in my case, I presented my venue's Instagram page to see if what other people get from it is matching the brands that we are aiming for. And it's a bit, because we strive for being like non-institutional and young and very diverse in what we do. We don't do just music, we also do theater and workshops, etc. They got that idea as well, that it's young and plural, etc. But I fear that, like, for example, one of the words that we used was informal, which is great. Like, it's not, it matches the non-institutional part of it. but I fear like it's a fine line between that and amateur, and and I think we're not in the amateur sphere anymore, and I think that's something that we need to like really work on to. For example, we use both our graphic design and also other artists' cover works and stuff like that. And I think that, for example, he got the idea that it could be a label. So that's confusing.
Yeah.
And I think we need to work on a way to make it very direct and consistent, but keep the cool kids side of it.
That's really good insight. That it could be a label. Very good. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to print off, or I'm going to email you depending on our printing itch. But I always take people through an artist discovery branding questionnaire and workshop. What this was whenever I used to start working with a new client, I would get everybody in the room that works on a particular project, and I'd take them through all of these questions. It's meant to be a reflective exercise. It's meant to be a thing that takes time, and you should give out it, do it when you have lots of energy, chip away at it. But it's designed to prompt you with ideas to get at your core of what you want that brand to be about. So for you, for example, when you're thinking about, okay, how do I make things look like, how do I retain the cool kids but make things look a little bit more polished but still like impersonal, this will kind of get at what those ideas are, and what it will get you to at the end is a really clear articulation, or like really clear 3 to 5 words of what your brand is about, that you can say it and describe it, and then everything falls off. So this I'm going to leave with you to do after these sessions, because we won't get through it if we're working on it together. So I'm going to give that to you, and you'll work on that tomorrow. What we're going to do this afternoon, though, is we're going to start to look at those music. We're going to listen to everybody's music, and we're going to look at Spotify specifically and think about how we can best get more streams on our tracks. So with that, before we wrap up, I just need a quick show of hands. Who does not have access to a laptop? 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. All right.
For this afternoon?
Yeah, this afternoon. 4. Okay, great. We're going to do paper and a pen. Anyone not have access to paper and a pen? No, that's serious, because I just need to know if okay, perfect.
I like paper too.
Yeah, we're going to do paper. We're going to go analog, because screw social media, We're going to do paper and a pen. But can everybody who has music to share, can you please send it to me either as a SoundCloud link, a Spotify link, or MP3 if it's unreleased? Just send it to my email address, which is just amber@deepcuts.co. I'll just make that. .co, no com. Just put it right there.
What, sorry?
.co.
Thank you.
Make that 100. Just one song that you'd like us to focus on. And if you're trying to think about what song to choose, think of something that best represents the project.
That's the thing.
You've got everything's different? Kind of, yeah. Pick your favourite. Okay. Yeah. Whatever your favourite is, just email that to me.
It's like picking the favorite kid.
Yeah, I know. Or pick the one that's the most ready, or whatever would be most,
The one that's most wired, that people listen to?
No, the one that you want to promote next. Yeah. And then we'll have some lunch. Thank you everyone for participating, and everyone for giving so much great insight to everybody else's projects, and being so friendly and helpful to everybody. So I always, thank you to you and your attention.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
It was awesome. Yeah, no, it's okay. A little
Yes.
Is this for playing today?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
And it has to be one.
Just one.
Não é assim, porque claramente depois a segunda já é assim, a terceira é assim, vai ser
Get on WhatsApp. That should be fine. WhatsApp. Send it to me on WhatsApp, and I'll figure out how to play it from my phone. Or you can play it from your phone. Yeah. Okay. We'll just play it from your phone. That's fine. Yeah. No problems.
Aí, é por aqui que isso vai.
Yeah, I only have two songs.
Yeah.
That's on my laptop.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, that's easy.
Oh, não, isto vai ser muito engraçado. Isto não tem play. Não, mas eu sei que tem play.
We're filling now the questionnaire.
Obrigada pela entrevista. Eu sei que consigo ver os plays, consigo ver os plays. Não.
SMJ maiúsculo. Deixa eu anotar, porque quero dar uma... SMJ maiúsculo, hashtag.
É isto, não é? Eu nem falo as aplicações, mas depois
Some days are ecstasy, dreams and synchronicity, electricity. Electricity. I've seen sunny days and rainy days, and dark days and brighter days. Maybe every day is a better way to be. But still, some days are ecstasy, dreams and synchronicity. Electricity. Electricity. These days I like wandering through the city streets and listening. It's the little things that seem to sing to me. But still, some days are ecstasy, dreams and synchronicity. Electricity. Electricity.
Like on that Melbourne Underground song where the Chewbacca noise comes in, like, or like the sound, what's that is? Or what's it say? It's like,
As far as space and time and the future is concerned, I think most of you know that I believe that the space you occupy determines the time that you live in. To move into new space is the only way that new realities can be created and the fastest way that future nervous systems can be activated.
We are stuck in this dimension of time, and we can't really conceive of anything beyond that, but that space is something beyond that, which is inconceivable, or difficult to conceive for people living in time. And the point is that time is a resource, and time is running out. That's why we have to go into space.
Well, space is a very tenuous word. Does it mean outer space, or does it mean inner space? Or does it just mean space, like the fifth element? I tend to think that, going places all over the place, thinking that you're going to go to one space or another and change everything, it might work, but on the other hand, I think you have to change your mind to start with, and you don't have to go anywhere to do that. I think one of the things that's interesting about William's work is that he sees everything, as far as I can see, as an illusion, and wants us to understand what the illusions are about, who's making them, why we should have these illusions in the first place, and who stands to benefit by us having them. So that when you think about space, for me, when I think about space, I think about the space in those relationships. I don't think about outer space. I'm in outer space. This is outer space. It is the illusion of outer space anyway.
Well, we're 2/3 of the way from galactic center, and of course from the viewpoint of any other star system, we definitely are in outer space. All the people looking out at the stars tonight from other worlds, they see ours out there. They say, gee, I wonder that little speck out there, I wonder if there are intelligent beings on it.
Blue. We look pretty blue tonight.
I imagine we do. But,
what did you say, Brian?
We look blue to everybody in outer space.
But what was normal? Mark MacDonald is program director at station WAMU in
About 20 people calling.
Que sin embargo no se contemplan para infligir daños masivos porque los gérmenes.
Oh, I know. We came from the because everything was closing at the hotel. They said, "Let's go. You have to go." But it was so. Yeah, but it was okay, because we had arranged with Google to come here. So it was booked, so it was okay. But it was funny. It was a funny feeling, like, oh, okay, you have to go. Oh, okay. And it was because then it was changing with. It was really all changing at that time.
And we've witnessed that as a nation. I mean, we have.